Zishana ko volume button.
Our viewers, welcome to TVBAKWETU. This is the Monday segment on TVBAKWETU.
Our viewers,
Sorry about that. Our viewers, welcome to TVBAKWETU. This Monday segment on TVBAKWETU is called One-on-One with Dr. Kasonso. We'll be talking about the current issues in business and finance with a focus on Zambia. Dr. Kasonso, welcome to TVBAKWETU.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chilofia. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, Dr. Kasonso. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. It's the same to me.
Yeah, Dr. Kasonso, before we start, we're mourning in Zambia, 7 days of national mourning. Our former president, Mr. Rupia Banda passed away on last Friday evening, and we've got 7 days of mourning. We're gonna put him to rest this Friday. Can we just spend some few minutes to talk about our departed hero? Over to you,
Yeah.
Kasonso.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Shlofia. First of all, my condolences to you, my countrymen, on the death of our president, former president, and to all the people of the Republic of Zambia. We mourn with you, and we are mourning with you the loss of this great leader among our people, the President Rupia Banda, the fourth president of our republic, and he has left a legacy. He served in various portfolios in the government. He definitely put a stamp on the foreign policy of our country, and also in the economic stewardship of our country during the time when he was president. He was a friend of many people, and you know, pouring messages are coming from all over the world to commemorate his life and celebrate his the life well lived. Our condolences from One on One. Condolences to the Republic of Zambia, and may President Rupia Banda rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kasonso. You've said much. I'm not going to say much. All I would say is my condolences once more from my family and also from TVBAKWETU to our former president's family. And indeed, Bakasonso, you've said much. He dedicated his life to Zambia, and today there was even condolences from my queen here in the UK. Dr. Kasonso, we now going to move to another part of our program where we talk about how the Zambian kwacha is faring against um, other convertible currencies, major convertible currencies. At the close of business today, the US dollar to the kwacha was buying at 18 kwacha and 13 ingwe and selling at 18 kwacha and 18 ingwe. The British pound was buying at 23 kwacha and 66 ingwe, and selling at 23 kwacha 74 ingwe. The euro was buying at 19 kwacha 85 ingwe and selling at 19 kwacha 91 ngwe. The South African rand was buying at 1 kwacha 20 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 21 ngwe. Except for the British pound, there was a slight depreciation from the rates obtaining in the last 1 week. But the kwacha continues to hold relatively strong against the major convertible currencies. Why, Bakasons?
That's because there aren't many dramatic things that are happening, but we can see that obviously the lack of sustained export earnings from our country makes us continue to have a drip type of economy that we constantly describe here, where you are making incremental or marginal losses in terms of currency exchange rates on a weekly basis. And unless you have a major injection of funds come in, then you have the currency, kind of gain back, or if you have a central bank auction some amounts, some foreign currency exchange. Yeah, but I noticed that, on that, on those exchange rates, that the British pound had a slightly opposite effect. We instead of losing on the British pound, we had a slight gain.
What could be the reason, Vakasons? Only one currency?
Yeah, only one currency. Maybe there was an injection of some British pounds for some cause or some particular thing into the banking system. Yeah, so maybe the British pound You remember there are projects that are supposed to do with the environment and other things, but we don't know if that's really what is causing that. Maybe it's just an enterprise from there that put in some resources in the financial system, or they have started making those small changes or small down payments towards those type of projects that they're supposed to do in Zambia. Yeah, or maybe we just didn't do much business with them. Yeah, because them separating from the euro, and being a smaller economy compared to either the euro or the US economy. Maybe we didn't do much business with them, so we didn't lose much to them in particular. That could be the case.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kasonso. Our viewers, this program, we talk about business development, and today we bring our analysis and reflection on the President Hakainde Hichilema address to Parliament on the state of the nation, values and principles. We discuss the purpose of this important speech. We relate economic development to national values and principles. We correct our themes here on TVBAKWETU, the President's State of the Nation address. Please share this discussion with your friends on Facebook and subscribe to TVBAKWETU if you have not. We are live on YouTube as well. And also our viewers, start sending those stars and start sharing this program so that so many people can listen to this program. Now, Dr. Kasonso, let's move on to the question time. Dr. Kasonso, what is the relationship between the economic development and the national values or principles? What the president talked about on last Friday in Parliament.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chilofia. We on this platform, we have said that economic development is a creation of wealth from which community benefits are realized. And it is more than a jobs program. It's an investment in growing your economy and enhancing the prosperity and quality of life for all citizens. So economic development is the thrust and the basis on which we're organizing a country to improve the welfare of all citizens. Now, national values are our people's principles or standards of behavior, our people's judgment of what is important in life. The principles are enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic in 6 sets. The first set is called morality and ethics. The second set is called patriotism and national unity. The third set is called democracy and constitutionalism. And the fourth set is called human dignity, equity, social justice, equality, and non-discrimination. And the fifth one is called good governance and integrity. And then the final one is sustainable development. These principles are designed to inform our praxis at personal level, family level, and country level. It is impossible, therefore, for us to attain or sustain economic development at the family level or personal level or country level without adhering to the basic standards of behavior that are held in high esteem as important by our people. And they are enshrined in the Constitution. Values are what is important. It's how we do our way of life. It's what we consider important. Therefore, if we are to achieve or sustain economic development, we must be able to live in a conduct that is worthy of our country. And our country sees these 6 as the primary values of the Republic of Zambia that have been put in the constitution of our country as the standards of behavior for the people at both family level, firm level, and country level.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kasonso, on that note. But Kasonso, with all these good values,
Mhm,
morality and ethics, good
mhm.
governance, how come we are still going backwards? Where have we gone wrong?
Yeah, so it's the difference between our practice and our word. So as we move our practice towards our word, our written word, then we begin to improve the quality of life and the conditions in which we are living. So every time, as a government or as a people group, we are not in a position to put these things into practice. We put these as just signposts or good words out there. Then the situation in the country begins to decline. So, and what you see is that in any given moment, when our country is at its best, we are practicing these values. And the best of Zambia means we live out the creeds of the Constitution.
That's fantastic, Kasonso. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What was the purpose of the president's State of the Nation address on national values and principles?
Thank you,
Over
Mr. Shrutia. The purpose of the president, first of all, it's a requirement of his job. Part of the job of the president, he is required, it's a constitutional requirement for him annually to go and report on the state of the nation and demonstrate progress, that kind of progress that has been made in achieving those behavioral benchmarks. So the purpose is for the president to demonstrate to us that we are making strides and progress along the national values. We are achieving the national values in our conduct as a nation and in our conduct of governance, and him as the father of the nation or as a leader of the country is able to point to specific steps that his government has taken in holding what is really important according to the Constitution. So the purpose is for him to show us that we are making progress along those lines. So it's an annual constitutional requirement.
Thank you so much, Kasonso. The last 7-10 years, presidents used to go each various presidents have gone into parliament talking about the state of the nation address, and yet our economy has been going to lunar reverse. What changes now?
The
Over to you,
same,
Kasonso.
we have to go back to what we said at the beginning. When there is a difference between our word and our actions, the nation deteriorates. But if we can leave the talk, our nation improves. Anytime we can point to the deficits in any of the development factors for our country, and the issue is not what the Constitution says. The issue is the deficits in behavior and the conduct of those charged with governance. What we call living or leading by example. If we have leaders leading by example, if we have leaders modeling the values of the nation, then we are going to register progress. But if we don't have that, then we are going to fall back.
Okay, that's fantastic, Kasonso. Let's move on. While it's still there on Spotlight, here on TVBAKWETU and one-on-one in particular, this program, one-on-one with Dr. Kasonso, we discuss current issues in business with focus on Zambia. What overlapping themes from our discussion did you find in the President's State of the Nation address on national values and principles? Over to you, Kasonso.
Yeah, Yes, Batulufia, we found a lot of overlaps. You know, clearly, the things we are looking at and the things we're mentioning every week here on TVBAKWETU, and particularly here on One-on-One, are so much on point that the president and his group, or the governing class, they see some of the same things as the useful things. For example, in his address, the president touted one of the things that we talk about here, which is the value of hard work. We have said it here again and again, that if we are going to achieve a sustained economic development in the Republic of Zambia, it is not going to be bequeathed to us spiritually. It is not going to be bequeathed to us by some imputed scientific method. It is going to take hard work. The president emphasized the value of hard work and trying to share with the nation the need to walk away from the culture of handouts, and talks about productivity and how hard work should inform what we do at the personal level, at the family level, and at the national level. So the president insisted that if we work and work and work more, the results will be there. And if we aim for excellency and avoid shortcuts, we are going to see that. So, and again and again, we have come here on this platform to show and demonstrate that productivity is measured in work assignments. And if we value hard work and we work hard, we are going to see some results. So I saw an overlap in that. And the other thing I saw an overlap in the president's speech and what we espouse here on TVBAKWETU, particularly here on One-on-One, is about the consumption of locally produced goods. We have proposed here on this platform that unless we can wean the people of Zambia off of addiction from the goods produced from other countries, the country is not going to go anywhere financially. We are going to struggle to put a dent in unemployment. So what we have suggested multiple times, again and again here, is that we need to be able to sufficiently support locally produced goods and make sure that those particular goods that are built in Zambia have access to their own market in their own country. The president touted this a lot, and he reported that there is increased shelf space for locally produced goods, and various chain stores are interested in that. But the most important thing that I enjoyed from his proposition is that we need to increase local production, local productivity. If they need to go to parliament to go and create legislation to promote goods being produced in the Zambia, they are going to go and create laws to be able to achieve that objective. So I saw that there was an overlap on that with what we talk about. So clearly the president carried our message, and we are very thankful and we are very proud of that. And in other programs, not just here on One-on-One, in other programs on TVBAKWETU, TVBAKWETU is a multimodality platform. Everybody is welcome here. We are welcome to talk our father's languages, our mother's languages, and we are welcome to speak in vernacular here with no restrictions. We promote national unity on TVBAKWETU. The president spent significant amounts of time touting the value of national unity and the need for us to break the dividing walls of ridding ourselves of things which divide us, like ethnicity, religion, church, political party, for us to be able to think of ourselves first as one Zambia and one nation first. So the push for one purpose is a critical overlap. So in that sense, the president, he spoke for us, even as a constituent and even as a platform from the perspective of TVBAKWETU, because we believe that, as Dr. Elias Musha likes to say, Barafaya na mwina mwanga aletwanga, nomwausi aletwanga, nomutonga aletwanga, nomulozi aletwanga, okweba nizambia yaba nani, nizambia yesu wonse. So the president spoke for us, and he carried our message in that regard, and the message was well received. And then the other overlap, Bachelofia, that was there was the role of entrepreneurship in tackling mass unemployment in the Zambia. The role of entrepreneurship in tackling. We have insisted that creating of jobs is a prerogative of the private sector. Public sector jobs, government can create a few jobs. But the real jobs that can come to people are going to come from entrepreneurship in the private sector. So the president touted the impetus of entrepreneurship. And we have explained here on one-on-one, we have said that the critical players in economic development, which is the production of goods and services and products that can improve the conditions of human beings and improve the conditions of the country at large, the inventor, the entrepreneur, and the capitalist. The interplay of these in the private sector and the promotion of these key players in the private sector, it leads to economic growth and business opportunities of the various kinds. So those are just some of the areas that, Shilofia, not to be exhaustive, that I noticed that there was an overlap and between some of the themes of what we talk about here on TVBAKWETU and the message that the president carried for the nation and for all of us.
Thank you so much, Kasonso. That's very, very interesting. Kasonso, before we go into the next part of the next question, there's been a lot of debate around the work culture of us Africans in general.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say that, I think it was Sia One who was saying,
Mm-hmm.
us Africans, we like praying too much without
Mm-hmm.
action.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gave an example of China, the way China has developed from one of the poorest countries to one of the richest countries, or more or less a superpower. And in China now, somebody was just saying, if somebody is involved in corruption, the punishment is death penalty. Sorry, Kasonso. Sorry, our viewers, we lost Kasonso. So in China, the punishment for corruption is death sentence. So Kasonso, what can Zambia learn from the Chinese? Is our culture, are we ready culture-wise to develop our country, our economy?
Yes, Vachelofia. There's a lot to learn from China, and there's a lot to learn from other countries as well. There are certainly certain cultural deficits that we have, but the way you resolve cultural deficits is to do it as domain-specific evaluation. You have to look at your own culture and compare those with national values. Let me give you an example. In his address, the president pointed out in relation to morals and ethics. He pointed out that there is a deficit or a breakdown in the morals of our society. That's a cultural issue. That's a cultural issue. He decried, for example, things like drunkenness, alcohol and drug abuse, teenage marriages, gender-based violence. He decried ethical conduct at work. The president decried patriotism and safeguard of assets. So we have to look at our country and our society at large and identify those types of deficits and relate them to law enforcement. Because as soon as we relate them to law enforcement, what happens is very basic. Certain things, people are going to not be able to do them because they are afraid of the law. So we can certainly improve on our culture, but there are also certain aspects of our culture that we can power to improve the conditions of our life in our own settings, on our own terms, without us holistically adopting a totally different culture.
Oh, that's fantastic, Kasonso. Kasonso, before we move forward, let's talk about what were the main issues highlighted. Let me put it this way. What were the main problems highlighted in the President's State of the Nation address on national values and principles?
Ethical conduct at work was one of them. I think it relates to the corruption issue that you're mentioning. That we have a culture sometimes that abets and promotes unethical conduct. So ethical conduct was one of the issues the president decried. And then he looked squarely into how we hold the trust of the country. The president also decried the lack of patriotism. He implored us to have a consciousness about our country, our heritage, and the country belonging to all of us, without the need for us to subdivide or exclude others. He actually redefined patriotism as participation in governance and safeguarding of national assets. So if we are being patriotic, we are to participate in governance, stand on a political party of your choice, join government if you are appointed. And when you are in those portfolios, safeguard national assets. I liked his emphasis on one of the issues. One of the issues he emphasized on was that if you focus on just appropriating benefits yourself, I'm paraphrasing, you might end up in trouble. But if you focus on the good of the collective, even your own needs will be taken care of. And that is what he sees as patriotism. So that is an issue he cited. Now, in terms of ethical conduct at work, he imploded the professional bodies to be able to instill professional ethics and enforce professional standards in the workplace, both in the public sector and in government. And he sees the remedy to corrupt practices in the workplaces is adherence to ethical conduct. So he saw the problem is the lack of adherence to professional standards. So he saw the professional standards, which are private sector based, mostly association based, to be those that can help people or can help the country be steered in the direction. Now, on the issue of morality, he identified a very immoral country, or a country with morals that are decaying. I remember he said that he talked about gender-based violence. How could you claim to be loving a family that you are abusing? So he spoke as a father of the nation, and he basically identified the issue of having ability to extend more love to each other in the context of the family as curative of that. And he warned actually, I like the issue that he is educating young people and giving them free education. And then he says that if you are going to be marrying teenagers, they are going to prosecute you. So he has staked his position, his government's position, against teenage marriages. He sees that as something that represents a breakdown in the morals of our country. And n'okubumuka bukyakolwa and drug abuse. And he implores the different enterprises that are involved in that to be able to do something about that problem.
I think you correct Kasonso. Abantu nga nabakola pa 10 o'clock in the morning or 10 hours. Nishwala bombashan. I think the president was right. We need to change for a country like ours to develop. It's not just Vakateka. It's not just permanent secretaries or ministers. It's all of us. It's what we should do for Zambia and not what Zambia should do for us. Yeah, Bakasonso. The last 1 month or so, there've been a lot of debate going on. You know, some commentators have been saying the new Dawn government has no plan or they have no recovery plan. So which means the country is going nowhere. My question is, Bakasonso, did the president address his critics in his State of the Nation address?
I think he did. What interested me is in talking about the application of morals and in talking about values, application of these values to the governance of the country. I think he found a way to weave in education. And he says, the people used to say, no, free education, you can't offer it. But we're in government and we're offering free education. Abana bakuma school. And yo, ema desk tamuri, abana na betulasana ma classes valeka la panshi. And then he goes and he says, well, ingabana valeka la panshi nishi, inili onse, nishi tabalabana tabale ku school, numbaziri school ya vile alotu, wana bambokuya. So that's a good problem. So the problem wakwata nishi number, ma desk. So ama desk mwala ya kwata shani. Bala mpanga ma desk, bala panga ma destination. Kaviye niku constituency development fund. Eko mwala fanya pia, shakupangira ma desk. So he seemed to me to be equipped with the challenges to his programs and his plans. And clearly, they have a plan and they have the answers to their critiques. I think it was very impressive the way he tackled his critics. He didn't make them feel excluded, but he tried to counsel them and bring them on board as well. It's like showing people the better way to do it, showing the better way to govern. So he did answer his critiques very well. And I was very impressed with that.
That's fantastic, Bakasonso. One thing I picked up from there is Bakasonso. Our critics. Yeah, this is a government 6 months in power and 2.5 months into their budget. And people are criticizing. They were saying free education. They gave free education. And then the schools are full because those parents who couldn't afford their kids to go to school, now they have to go to school. Now they are saying there are too many kids in school. It's because of the policy of the government. Anyway, let's move on, Bakasonso. The next question, or I would call it the elephant in the room. This government came into power on the backdrop of two things, mainly two things. Corruption, zero tolerance to corruption. They promised to bring leadership, you know, to stop that cancer called corruption, morality. And
Mm,
then another reason why they came into power was to create jobs and opportunities
mm,
for the youth. And in that 2.8 million,
mm,
most of them were youth.
mm,
So now my question is, Bakasons,
mm.
let's talk about the best ways to create employment for the Zambian economy. Where does the president see this government creating job opportunities? Over to you, Bakasons.
Thank you, Lufia. Yeah, the president does identify himself with the mass of the unemployed youth, and his thought is very realistic on this problem. Yeah, his thought is not to bring large multinational companies that will employ the young people to put them in the jobs. Rather, he gravitates towards self-employment more. So what the president's plan seems to me is creation of new enterprises through issuing of licenses for different things that that the young people can be able to do, is to venture into entrepreneurship, the role of licenses to operate businesses, and get into entrepreneurship, being involved in starting a business, build a product or grow a product and be able to sell it, or create a service, and things like that. So what we need to do is to highlight and explore in the Zambia with this government the areas of enterprise, the areas of opportunity, and the financing opportunities that are there. For instance, there are elements of funding for the so-called cooperatives. In the past, cooperatives in Zambia didn't work. I am not for the idea of a cooperative. I am for the idea of small business corporation. So instead of the young people creating cooperatives, let them go and register companies themselves as members so that they can use. Remember what we talked about when we spoke about the formation of the corporation as a primary vehicle of economic, of the distribution of economic benefits in 400 years ago when the corporation was started here in the United States, and how people didn't run to the government for the government to give them food or give them jobs, but government would give them an opportunity and they organize themselves into companies, and the company became the vehicle through which they can appropriate economic benefits. They put their energy, their efforts, and their skills together, and once they do that, they push that corporation, that they push that small company to gain, to make sure they earn a profit on their work, and then they expand and grow and get the benefits from that. So what the president is pushing and banking on is self-employment and the role of entrepreneurship. Now, in Zambia, when we mention entrepreneurship, most of us, we think of buying and selling. It's getting money, and you take the money and you get out of the country, go and buy goods from somewhere else and come and sell it to your neighbors, or go and sell it at the mall. That is not the entrepreneurship that is going to create jobs or advance or deal with the problem of unemployment in the country. We have to focus on the productive sector where you can build a product or grow a product, some scientific innovation, or some farming, or some mining, some production-based enterprise where you can sell a product or with a markup, and then you can get the benefit from there. So the president sees that as the way to tackle the mass unemployment, and he is right on the money. That is historically how it's been done in business. That is historically how it's been done in countries that have made progress.
That's fantastic, Bakasonso. So, Bakasonso, so what's the downfall of a cooperative?
The downfall of a cooperative is it's mostly a socialist concept. What I mean a socialist concept is that, the ownership the ownership is so general. The ownership is so general that the assignment of roles can also be arbitrary. And how the means of actually even sharing the benefits from the cooperative can be very, very difficult to assign. But if everyone who is involved is a shareholder, and you have a strict agreement that the shareholder is amenable to this amount of the profit or this amount of the declared dividend, or is entitled to work in the corporation, the articles, you are operating basically a capitalistic enterprise. A capitalistic enterprise. And we have said we want three people in there: the inventor, the entrepreneur who organizes, and the capitalist who puts in the money so that they can get a profit on their money. Yeah, but cooperatives, it's like everything belongs to everybody. You know, nobody owns anything. You know, that's the downside of it. So, but if they create small companies, everybody who is in there as a member is an owner. They have a stake in it. So they have a responsibility to push the success of the company, to use their skills and push it in the point to be successful in their corner. So, and then when they put their energy and the effort together, the enterprise will be successful.
Now, Kasonso, one can argue and say the British have moved one step ahead and turn cooperatives into big businesses, and they start running them as a business. Like we've got a co-op, which is one of the biggest retail supermarkets in the country. It runs as a co-op, and we've got also another retail called Waitrose.
Yeah.
It's run as a cooperative.
Yeah.
So can't we do the same?
Let me also give you an example. You see the lights on me here. It's a division of Dominion Power. It runs as a co-op, but you see who the members are of that corporation. It is us, the owners of their houses in the location, who pay the bills into it. You see what it is? So the owners are us. So it is kind of owned by the general public for which it benefits. Yeah, but if you go to the foundation and how the company was started, it was probably part of the utility company, public utility company, and then the ownership was handed to the community and the people who, and then they start running it as a cooperative. So those are not the cooperatives that we're talking about. If the young people come together, they are not forming the cooperative with that level of sustained capital and not just having a distinguished owner. We are talking about the ownership of small businesses. Those are two different enterprises. The co-ops that we're describing are these large community-based, capital-intensive enterprises with no identifiable owner, but have been handed over to the community or society that it serves. So that company can go on its own without an identified owner. The owners are the people that it serves. It already has the capital. It has already got the market. It has already got the products. Those are different co-ops that we're talking about. We're not talking about young people starting an organization from the scratch. I definitely prefer a private sector, small business enterprise with shares to a cooperation. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Kasonso. And before we coming closer to the end of the program, I've noticed that we've got one of the BAKWETU crew members, Mr. Mapanza Nkwilimba. Mr. Nkwilimba, have you got any question for Dr. Kasonso? By the way, welcome to BAKWETU TV.
Good evening. It's a very interesting program.
Good evening, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It has been a while.
Yeah.
The wonderful program that you have.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the question I have really, maybe a combination of a question and comment.
Contribution, yes.
When we talk about national values and principles as something that is enshrined in our constitution, are there any, and you see, when the president comes to report annually, he's supposed to be reporting on the progress that has been made on these national values and principles. The question really I have is, do we have any benchmark to which the president can refer to as where we have come from in terms of making progress in that area? Like any part of the constitution, very few people read the constitution or understand the constitution, and I'm sure there are very few people who even think about national values and principles. So, and if that is the case, shouldn't the government have a deliberate approach of sensitizing citizens on those values and the principles? Because really, when you think of I listened to part of the president's address. It was mostly not reporting on the progress that has been made, but really pointing out to what it should be. As far as upholding the national values and the principles are concerned, but not really reporting on the progress that the country has been made. What do you think?
Yes, Mr. Nkulimba, those are brilliant observations. Let me start with the middle part. You mentioned a way of sensitizing citizens. I think that the national values should be taught in school. They should be part of the civics classes or whatever we do, so that as young people are growing, they know what is important to be a Zambian. I don't know if we have them in the curriculum, that is good. If we don't have them, I think that is a very good place to start. Put them in the curriculum. And then you are correct in your assessment that the president talked about a lot of what it should be. But that's not the only thing that he did, Mr. Nkulimba. What the president did was to show certain aspects. For example, when he talked about democratization, I took some notes. He said, yeah, we are respected all over the world, but we should also value our own democracy and not do democracy and violence at the same time. So he could show there that before the Kabwata by-elections, for instance, by-elections were murdered with violence from the PF and the UPND, or opposition and the ruling party. But now that he has come, we could report that, hey, look at the example of Kabwata. We are turning that page. So we are making progress in that regard on democratization, and our people can have liberty to express themselves and compete on political space. So yes, I agree. There should be some benchmarks. Yes, but all you can do is to refer to what used to happen. When he talks about ethics at work, it is these rampant corrupt practices that were going on, and of course he didn't say that, but is a steward. And then he pushes for the notion and the idea that since they have come, they have put the bleeding the stop to that bleeding. They put a stop to that bleeding. And the way it should be going forward is that we are going to be able to act as ethical people, and professional organizations have to help us to enforce professional standards at work. That's the way I see it, Mr. Mpino.
Yeah, I think Kasonso, you picked up something very, very important in there. Yes, some of the things my president was talking about, he was just reporting on what he thinks the nation should be in terms of morality. But if you look at Kabwata, it's a litmus test. Before Kabwata, by-elections or constituencies, or they were war zones. They were like war zones. Look at the markets. Intercity, everywhere. You cannot go. You couldn't go there at Intercity wearing a UPND regalia. You will be dead. And yet in Kabwata, we had a lady with a baby, and I think I've got that picture, wearing a PF regalia, greeting the president. That woman would have been skinned alive.
Are you saying a woman who was wearing a PF regalia is still alive in Kabwata?
No, I'm saying, no, she's still alive, yes.
Oh, hallelujah. We thank God for that.
Yeah, but if it was the opposite, imagine a woman wearing a UPND regalia, greeting a dada. That woman would have been dead. But those are some of the things he picked up that are very, very. Imagine within 6 months, I can walk into Intercity with a UPND regalia.
Yeah.
Before you couldn't do that. But anyway, before we finish, we've got Barbara here, Dr. Barbara Chanda. But Dr. Barbara Chanda, welcome to TVBAKWETU. I'm giving you 1 minute to ask Kasonso a question or to make a comment.
I'll make a comment just to start with, because I just wanted to end on the point that, as Zambians, we like declaring ourselves as Christians, or, whatever happens, we usually say Zambia is a Christian nation. We forget that Zambia as a map did not stand up and declare itself, I belong to now Jesus Christ as a map. It was a country, it was somebody who said this. So as human beings, we have to, first of all, change our attitudes. And it's Christianity, the faith of Christianity is not a destination, it's a journey. You can never say, I've now reached the end of Christianity, so I'm a good person, or this country has now reached the destination, it's a good country. It's a journey, it's a process. And we've moved on the first step. With what Bali is doing, it's a first step, because Bali is just the pronunciation, the head of the country. Now the onus is on us as Zambian citizens to change the way we look at things, to change our morality, whether it's in our own personal homes or in the places of work. All these things that happen, from corruption to whatever it may be, it doesn't start in the offices, it starts in our own homes. You have a child who's stealing from you, doing all sorts of things, and you're laughing and joking about it. That child will still go and steal somewhere else or abuse somebody else's family. We've all done so many wrong things, but at some point you have to stop and say, we now have to move in the right direction. The reason by PF, there's all this wanting to remember how things were. Honestly, if we're not careful as UPND, will also be dragged down to their level, because they're working so hard so that everything starts looking like it's the same picture. So we have to stand out. I submit.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara. Now we're getting closer to the end of the program. Kasonso, in 2 to 5 minutes.
Can I just make a quick comment? Just a few seconds.
Okay, over to you, Vankwelimba. 30 seconds.
Okay, the observation Dr. Kasonso made, on violence. It's really an interesting thing that has happened, and it just shows the importance of leadership. Yes. That with the change of leadership, a situation can turn around within 2 months. Yeah. So when we talk about national values and principles, if those are enshrined in the type of leaders that we have, it is something that we can easily realize. So you can think of all the other aspects, like Dr. Kasonso has explained, like hard work, unity, and all those things. If we have leadership in place, right leadership in place, then we are going to attain those values and principles. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kolimba, and thank you, Dr. Bab, and thank you, Mr. Patrick. Yeah, thank you for watching this section of TVBAKWETU. We come on Monday nights to talk about current issues in business and with a focus on Zambia. What we are doing in organizing the Republic is to attain economic development, which is the improvement, the creation of wealth from which the community benefits are realized, so that we can improve the welfare of our people. It's not a jobs program, it's an investment in growing the economy and enhancing the prosperity and quality of life for all citizens. And we have identified from our topic today that national values and principles play a critical role in as benchmarks of behavior in our country. And as the president espoused in the last speech in Parliament, we could see that there is a premise for us to apply these values at a personal level, at the firm level, and the country level. The purpose was that the president is required to come and report on, in the process of his governance and doing his job, how well we are doing as a country on these things. He didn't shy away from scolding the nation for drunkenness, kupotwaiche, nokulapuma bakashimayanda ali kalipa vyonse vyali funda pamongo mfyashi bali wabantu ali kanya na mwebale fokola upotwaiche tuma teenagers ali lombo kwebatya mwakula akakwa. Yes. So, and then we have also we've also identified that there were recurring themes through that speech that relate to things that we always talk about here on different programs of TVBAKWETU, including this section, including the hard work, consuming locally produced goods, national unity, entrepreneurship, among other things. Yeah, and finally, we have recognized this one simple thing, that to tackle mass unemployment in the Republic of Zambia, we are going to go full throttle out to invest in our own economy and create small businesses of every kind, producing every kind of good. The president and his people offered that if they have to go to parliament, they'll create laws to protect the profitability of the local enterprises so that people can buy the local goods. So we implore you, our countrymen and women, let's unleash our ingenuity and improve the conditions of life for our country. One Zambia.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Kasonso, for coming to this program. Thank you, Dr. Barbara Chanda. Thank you, my brother Mapenza Nkwilimba. Now, our viewers, we're coming to the end of that program. This was a special edition of One-on-One with Dr. Kasonso. And before we finish, we once again pass our sincere condolences to the Banda family. May his soul rest in peace. Our viewers, wherever you're watching us all over the world, thank you so much for watching our program. May the good Lord bless our mother country, Zambia. Good night and bye for now.